Former U.S. Ambassador to NATO Ivo Daalder has said that the U.S. President Donald Trump is looking for an economic win with China, which may not be actually good for India. Speaking to me earlier, he said that the president would even risk a geostrategic loss with countries like India to achieve a deal with China. Daalder added that the NATO will continue to persist even if USA withdraws from the organization. I began by asking him about the expectations from the second presidency of Donald Trump.
It's going to be a fundamentally different relationship. Trump 2.0 is not only more demanding, it has no natural points of friction or guardrails or ways to Donald Trump. Trump 1.0 was defined by what we call the of a long experience dealing with the government, dealing with the world, whether it was General Mattis or with the world for decades. And they were able, together with people in the White House, to deal with and try to avoid the worst excesses. Now we have an administration that has no guardrails. Whatever it is that Donald Trump will tell you to do, and that's true for the Secretary of State, it's true for everyone. So it's now the impulse of the president that will drive things. Certain, which is uncertainty. But the other thing that it means is that his worldview, which is actually quite defined, will now define how to deal with the world, which is he doesn't like allies. He believes that we should work with big powers like Russia and China, and that he wants to get the best possible deal out of any relationship. It's highly transactional, win-lose, no leading, just winning.
Right. I'd like to ask you about U.S. relationship with NATO and Europe. Do you think there's going to be a rupture there, considering the kind of speeches top officials like J.D. Vance have made?
Well, I think the fundamental point is that the Europeans think there is a rupture. We are seeing a fundamental shift in European thinking, perhaps best exemplified by what happened in Germany, where, of course, the attack on the German system happened by the vice president in Munich. The German reaction to this was one of outrage on the one hand, and a realization that something fundamental had broken. So the new Chancellor of Germany, who soon he still has to form a government, but will be the new Chancellor, Mr. Friedrich Merz, took his first opportunity publicly to declare that the United States was no longer a reliable ally and that we needed an independent Europe, even going so far that if that means working outside of NATO, to do so outside of NATO. A German chancellor that really since 1949, independence of West Germany, has relied on the United States for its security, for its sense of self-worth. For a German chancellor to say that is extraordinary. But then we live in extraordinary times.
Right. What about NATO? You have been U.S. ambassador to NATO. Can NATO guarantees for its European partners, will they last actually, and can partners and allies count on those guarantees?
Well, the question, of course, is can they count on the U.S. guarantee? The U.S. guarantee is a promise. It's a promissory note. You said, if something happens, I will do this. We are now in the age where those promissory notes can be ripped up any day, in which the United States, in an extraordinary measure, votes with Russia, North Korea, and Belarus, the three countries that are actually involved in a war against Ukraine, against not only Ukraine, but every single ally that the United States has. Even a country as China or a country as Iran abstained from that revolution that the United States voted against. And under those circumstances, trusting the United States is going to be more and more difficult. And the impulse will be to say, no, we need to figure out how to be more independent. We will have to invest more in our own defense, good thing anyway. But in the end, an alliance that has existed for 75 years, whose 75th anniversary we celebrated in July, may not even get to its 76th birthday in its present form. And here's the important thing. NATO will persist. Even if the United States withdraws, 31 countries will be members of NATO, and they will use NATO instruments, they will use NATO procedures, they will use NATO rules to continue to find ways to ensure their collective defense.
Right. Give us a sense of the kind of relationship we could see between US and China, and what kind of impact will that have on the world? We've seen the impact of the tariff wars in the first Trump administration. That rattled stock markets. Nobody likes trade wars, but what could happen now?
So I think actually that what Donald Trump is seeking is an agreement, a big deal with China. I don't think that this is good news for the region. I don't think it's good news for Taiwan. I don't think it's good news for our allies, Japan and Korea. I'm not even sure it's good news for India. Because it is the geostrategic interest between India and the United States vis-a-vis China that has informed the relationship. I think that Donald Trump is looking for some kind of deal that he can sell as an economic win, even though it's a geostrategic loss, because he doesn't care about the geostrategic losses in the way that American presidents in the past have. He sees Xi Jinping as a genius, as an incredible leader, because he controls, as he says, his 1.4 billion people with an iron fist, not something that we as Democrats, whether you're Indian or American, should admire, but he does. And so I fear that if we're banking on the United States to become anti-Chinese and have a confrontation with China, I don't think that's going to happen, no matter what Marco Rubio and Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State, who said before they came in. I think Donald Trump wants a deal, and he is willing to settle for something that may not even be a very good one.
Final two questions would be about the impact of Elon Musk on the relationship with Donald Trump, and also the relationship between US and India. We're already seeing some tension with the kind of work that the Department of Government Efficiency is doing, with the defense officials, the State Department, even the FBI saying you do not need to respond to queries that are coming in from the Department of Government Efficiency. Where do you think we are headed? Do you think this could cause trouble in the US administration?
Well, we don't really know, because we have nothing to compare it to. We have never in the history of a country seen an outside person come in with absolutely no experience in government, bring in 40 whiz kids who have absolutely no experience in life, let alone in government, and to tear the entire structure apart. In a way that has no rhyme and no reason. Firing left and right, deciding that this program works and that program works. So we've never seen anything like that. The fact that that he has been able to do this already for, 32 days, and Donald Trump seems to be quite happy with the way it's been going, suggests to me that he can go for quite a while. Now, he will do things that some people will object to and will push back against. This idea that every employee should give 5 bullet points to say what it is that they were going to do, which will be generated into an AI machine in order to then figure out what government should do, which is not how government works. I think will fall by the wayside. But that doesn't mean that if Musk loses on one issue, he can't win on the next 100. The key is, will he and the president look at each other and say, we're better off together than alone? And so far, they're better off together. All
right. My final question then would be, will Musk come and manufacture in India? We've actually brought out a policy to woo companies like Tesla and VinFast of Vietnam and other global EV makers to come make in India, commit to $500 million in manufacturing and get a 15% duty concession on fully built cars. Currently, there's a 100% duty on imported cars into India. Do you think Elon Musk, in the current scheme of things, where the priority of Donald Trump is to make in America, will he come and invest in manufacturing, set up another line in India?
You know, I don't think so. I actually think he may be moving towards giving up on Tesla. Tesla's being outmaneuvered by Chinese EVs in China, which is his largest market. The people who tend to buy electric cars tend to be people who are more liberal and progressive on the Democratic side. His sales in the United States are going down because of his political activities. The same in Europe. So Tesla is in trouble. And it's not just a question of where it produces it anymore. At the moment, it's not clear that the cars it produces will be able to sell over the long term. So I think that is the larger issue for Elon Musk. How important is it for him to continue to play the kind of political games and to have the kind of political influence as he has running X and now this Doge effort vis-a-vis his business interest with regard to Tesla? And so far, It seems to be he's more interested in playing video games and getting into arguments on X and trying to destroy the U.S. government than he is in trying to make Teslas.
All right, that was the former U.S. ambassador to NATO, Ivo Daalder, saying he's not sure if Elon Musk would actually go ahead and invest in manufacturing in India. Let's see what happens in the next few months. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.